is given to us so we aren't micromanaging departments. And apparently what I said just flew over everybody's head, because I don't think we were attempting to determine at this table how many we needed to put in that ordinance of what number of policemen, dispatchers, whatever, without the input from the police chief, and that got vetoed. So
the veto, and I want this completely understood, the veto was the council telling me to have him here. There was no please, there was no may we. It was to have him here.
We made a motion.
The council doesn't have that authority.
We made the motion to request
and that's what I
the
vetoed.
Police chief to be here so we could determine the numbers to write the statutory.
That's all the
ordinance.
veto concerned, was your authority to tell me to have him here. That's all it concerned.
Well, I just find it amazing in the last 2 years there hasn't been a single department head at these meetings unless they wanted money, where in the last previous 5 years before that they were standing at
what does this have to do with the
giving
ordinance?
input to council so they can make better decisions.
Mr. DeVito.
Each one of us is free to go talk to the chief of police and determine the information on our own and come back to the table and craft an ordinance saying exactly what we want. You know, if you want to exert power, the mayor can exert power. That's the way I saw it. You know, it's our authority to craft an ordinance. We didn't choose that route. We chose instead to ask the chief. Excuse me, I have the floor. Do you mind? We chose to ask the chief of police to come here, and the mayor felt that that was usurping his authority. He vetoed it. We could have gone to the chief of police and found out the information we needed and came back to the table, and if we wanted to go ahead and craft an ordinance, we had that authority to do that, but we chose not to take that route.
It was very well spelled out in my explanation.
Point of order.
That's bullshit.
That's your opinion. You're not supposed to be giving your
We're
opinion
mandated
at the table.
to do that.
If you ask me a question, I'm going to answer it. If you don't answer a question, or ask me a question, I can't answer it. So I'm
You
either
already
right when I
answered
do or wrong when I do.
You
So
already
make
answered
up
it,
your mind.
Mr. DeVito.
Well, then when are we having the discussion?
Because you're out of order to add on to what he was saying,
whatever.
because that's your opinion
Whatever.
and you're not supposed to be giving it.
All right, I'm not answering any more questions, so I'm done. Yes, ma'am.
The fact remains, state statute mandates, it says we shall. It doesn't say you can if you want to. It says we shall have a general ordinance mandating how many subordinate police officers can be hired. State statute apparently did that for a reason. It's our responsibility. It's not supposed to be our choice or, oh, we don't really have to do it if we don't want to. State statute says shall. We've met resistance every step of the way trying to get this established. Whether we decided to have just exactly as many as we have, or whether we decided to have a few more, or whether we decided to have less, all we've met with at this table is resistance saying that, oh, we don't have to do that. You know, the mayor saying that, you know, gee whiz, I don't want my guy to come and talk to you. I'm going to be secretive, and I'm going to let him do whatever he wants to do, and I'm going to do whatever I want to do, and heck with you people. So right now I would like to make a motion that to ask the city attorney to draw up an ordinance, leaving a blank where we decide the number of subordinate police officers that can be hired.
Second.
Any further discussion on it? Mr. Pownall.
I would also request that ordinance include a proper phase-in period. You know what I'm trying to say, that if there was a number that got approved and that, you know, leads to, I think the consideration ought to be that if let's say the number is 13 now and we came up with a number of 9, that unless the table wanted to be cold-hearted, which, you know, we've been attacking tonight in a cold-hearted way some other matters, that at least gives some comfort to those who currently have jobs, have a period of time that the police department, you know, they could not make any new fills, within the vacancies.
Like attrition?
Attrition by retirement, transfer, that they wouldn't be allowed to replace until they got to the number that was approved in the ordinance. Is that
I think I
muddy enough
understand
for
what
it?
you're requesting, and that would be appropriate, because if you simply willy-nilly fired 3 or 4 individuals, ostensibly you have an employee handbook that could be considered possibly as a contract and could get you sued by firing anybody.
I would second his motion to put attrition in there. Or it may be that we decide they need more. I mean, we have not decided, he needs less, he needs more. I thought he did a real good job in his communication to us, the chief of police, saying what he had and why he needed them. So it may be that we decide that. But an attrition clause would be good. I would second that amendment to this motion.
Any further? Ms. Lindblad.
I'd further like to amend the motion that we have this ordinance at the next meeting and that it have an emergency
I
clause.
second that.
You know I'll veto it.
Point of order.
And you'll still be out of compliance with state statute.
Point
Mr. Mayor,
of
our
order.
administrative,
Point of order.
thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask Mr. Weaver, do we need an ordinance prepared to do this? Or are we violating state law at this point in time, in your opinion?
I honestly don't know the answer to
Here,
that.
Butch.
I've read that, but I also read,
General ordinance.
What's
just a
the-
moment, I've got a question
What's the-
for the,
Y'all are interrupting?
The original budgets that determined the number of police officers we've had have been ordinances. I don't know of an increase that has not been approved by virtue of what the police chief has argued in the past. That the number is approved because you set the number of salaries or the number of officers' compensations that can be done. So I don't know that you're out of compliance or you're in. I understand that some of the council members vehemently disagree with that, but if they do, they've not pursued that in a legal method to have it established. So I don't know. There's no, in my mind, I can't tell you no that you are out of compliance or yes you are out of compliance without a lot further study on the whole issue. And it's never really, as far as I know, been directed to me to look at it. And as you're aware, I think a majority of things of that nature have to be directed to me. I cannot take them upon my own self.
Mr. Barrett.
well, it always has been, and again, we look at the budgets in different manners, and we amend the budget in different manners, it appears. But what I'm hearing is when we do it by ordinance, then more than likely we are conforming with state law. We are making an ordinance, and we're allocating X amount of money to the police department for the hiring of, because he supplies us with that information. He's got 10 employees or 20 employees, and his salary is this. So if we want to basically cut the budget, and this is brought up before, as one of the council members well remembers, at our fire department when we were trying to cut the fire department by 20%. It was only pointed out the only way to cut that type of money is by eliminating staff positions. And the same thing goes with the police department. If we want to eliminate, we don't even have to eliminate an employee if we want to cut $46,000, $46,196 from the budget. We do that, and that's going to basically eliminate one police officer. So there's no way that they can eliminate and cut funding for any other way except by elimination of staff. So I'm still not sure where the council is trying to go with this. It seems like this has been working, and I'm not sure, because it's against, if we're not in compliance with state law, then let's make the budget by ordinance and become compliance in state law.
Mr. Pownall.
state code says by general ordinance. It's not under the finance section. It says general ordinance under the police setup. And if you go back and back, and you could tear this thing apart forever and ever. And, you know, if you have the budget set up by resolution, you're doing nobody any favors when it comes to something that says that by law you're required to designate the number of police officers in a city of the first class. Just think about it. I mean, if we do the budget by resolution and somebody is able to garner 4 votes to change the police department budget, how do you think that would be perceived if we didn't have the number of police officers spelled out as required by state code? It's as clear as night and day. And I wouldn't want to sit in any position at that end of the table or down the street that I knew for a fact the intent was to come up with an accurate, as close as possible number to be able to know long term. It's just like having a multi-year contract on the auditorium, knowing that state code is being met, and I know that I've got X number of employees. I don't care if it's police department, fire department, public works, whatever the case might be. If it says that is supposed to be set by general ordinance, that's the law.
Ms. Ballance, I think you had your hand up next.
I'll pass.
Mr.
Well, just as you state, we have the authority to craft an ordinance to do that. We also have the authority to craft an ordinance to repeal that. So, you know.
So we've been given fair warning what your intent is next term.
To be out of compliance with state statute.
Excuse me.
You've not been recognized.
Excuse me. Let me address that remark from my esteemed colleague. I was talking about here and now. You're obviously... No, I won't go there. You missed my point that you can also repeal the ordinance you enact to state how many police. So there's no safeguard by establishing it that way. You have the authority to repeal any ordinance you enact. So, you know, it's a moot point.
A motion on the table. And a vote.
You have a hand?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Well, you may be able to repeal any ordinance, but it says right in here we've got to have one. So repeal or not repeal, it says we have to have one, so there wouldn't really be any point in repealing one since we've got to have one by state law, which supersedes our law.
You want to read the motion?
Yes. A motion was made to ask the city attorney to drop an ordinance leaving a blank for the number of officers, including a period of attrition, and then there was an amendment also to have it for the next meeting.
With an emergency clause.
And then there was
With an
that
emergency
was the
clause.
third amendment, was the
Right,
emergency
well-
clause.
Right, I said the first, second, and then the third together. And it's ask, the word was ask, not tell or instruct or demand.
Any further? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any-
Oh, yeah, right.
You got 3 different motions from 3 different people.
No,
One of them needs to combine all those in
That
one.
I just
They were
went
amendments.
through
If
the
they're
sequence.
amendments, then they have to be voted on individually.
Truly. Agreed.
Okay, read. Let's go back to the original ordinance.
Shall we back into it?
Yes.
You got to
Okay,
go with
start
the
with the
last
last.
amendment.
You go
Okay.
to the last amendment first.
Ms. Lindblad's amendment was to have the ordinance at the next meeting with an emergency clause.
And you have a second to that, too.
Let's see.
You didn't get a second on it.
Ms. Ballance.
I believe I seconded that.
Yes, it was, and I accidentally wrote Karen. Sorry, it is Laney. Sorry.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
What's yours?
Yes.
No. 3-3.
So we have 3 and 3. And so it's no, Barry and DeVito are the no's.
I'm not voting for it.
There we are.
That defeats that amendment. Move back
Now,
up.
second one.
So we're going to keep going? All right, thank you.
Steve.
All right, Mr. Pownall motion to include what finally became a period of attrition. And Ms. Ballance seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
Point of question. Would that not be part of the original motion? Because you can't have one without the other.
Well, you've started backing up from the amendment to the original motion. You'll get to the original motion in a minute.
Okay.
And right now, it's just about having attrition as part of the ordinance.
And if the original motion fails, then the whole thing will fail. Right now, the only thing that's been decided is Karen's amendment has failed.
Just wanting to clarify.
So as stated, Mr. Pownall wanted to add the attrition to the original motion.
Indeed.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So now
Was that
the
6 ayes? What's yours?
Aye.
so now the original motion with the attrition added to it will become the main motion.
And the original motion was to ask the city attorney to drop an ordinance leaving a blank for the number of officers, and Ms. Lindblad seconded.
All in.
As amended now
Yeah, as
by the approved amendment.
As amended by the number 2 amendment.
As
with the
amended
attrition.
by the addition of attrition.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed?
No.
Okay, before we move on, I'd like
Wait,
to... Okay.
so it's 4-2? All in agreement?
Yes. 4-2.
Okay. Thank you.
Before we move on, I'd like to float a motion to have this, to ask the city attorney to have this ready by the next meeting without an emergency clause.
Second.
Do you think he'd be able to have that ready if it gets voted in?
Can try. I mean,
Thank you.
understanding the position that maybe you didn't understand that what the mayor stated a little while ago, he's an elected official, I'm an elected official. I will try to get it to you if you tell me to, but I will not promise you with 100% of my heart right now, because we all know what happened a couple of months ago with my eye.
Yes.
And that could happen with my heart or something else.
Okay.
And we're certainly not telling you, sir. We are asking
The
you
motion is
respectfully.
to have the amendment ready by next,
Meeting without an emergency
Without
clause.
an
The
emergency clause.
ordinance, ready. Not the
you have the ordinance ready by the next meeting with no emergency clause.
Correct.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
4-2?
4-2. All right. No further on it. All right, brings us to number 4. Is the
still
2000,
haven't voted.
I'm sorry, 2012.
Did we get to the original motion?
Yeah.
Yes.
No. Okay.
Yes, with the amendment for the attrition. It was voted on 4-2. Okay.
Gotta stand down.
Number 4 is the 2012 budget resolution. Mr. Pownall.
Move to postpone this to the next meeting since we just got the results today.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Like sign.
Who was the
5-1.
second on that?
I was.
Thank you.
Brings us to number 5, check signatories.
Move to discuss.
Second.
Floor's open. Yes, sir.
Question associated with this was who were the check signatories as of the period of who are the approved signatories for checks on city accounts?
I believe the council voted at the first of the year to be the mayor, the city clerk, the mayor pro tem, and the finance director. Yes, sir.
Move to go into executive session to discuss personnel matter.
Second.
All in favor? Say
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No.
Need to put these things
Yes,
on
we
the
do.
agenda.
I guess we'll go to executive session.
You want to talk about
So
it at the
the
table?
note-
We'll be back in regular session from the executive session. Mr. Pownall?
Make a motion to take no action from the executive session.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
And that's it. Okay. Thank you.
Moves us on to agenda setting for next meeting. Nothing on agenda setting. It moves us to council. Mr. Pownall.
I move that any unfinished business that was on tonight's agenda be carried forward to the next meeting with no new business unless it's financial in nature, which I guess would make item 4 a new business.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Anybody else? That's the only one on the agenda setting. It moves us to council comments.
I'll start.
Mr. Pownall. Ms. Ballance is leaving.
I would just like to thank the people of Eureka Springs that put me behind this table, good, bad, or indifferent at times. I feel like that my tenure under 3 mayors, both in planning and at this council table, I did my best to uphold what this office means and support the citizens of this community to the best of my ability. And I would also like to thank particularly Mr. Boyette, because I don't know which paper he works for anymore, for his fair coverage that he's given this table over the last 2 years of reporting, because he's always taken the facts. There has never been, at least in my opinion, there's never been anything that has been misstated. If he didn't understand it, he always found a way to make sure that it was correct. Nothing against Mr. Lee, but he hasn't been around that long for my 2 years here. But I'd just like to thank everybody at this table, and I wish the new council, Mr. DeVito, the best. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Mr. DeVito.
I reflect my colleague Mr. Pownall's sentiments about thanking council members for their service.
That's it? Okay. Mr. Berry.
Same thing. I appreciate the opportunity to serve on council and appreciate the council being here to help further the business of the city.
Ms. Lindblad.
No comment.
Mr. Raphael.
If you don't want to get involved in city government, at least pay attention.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Can I have seconds?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to pass this to the city clerk to give to Mr. Mitchell in Ward 1, Position 2.
Thanks, sir.
Hope he uses it.
We have a code book.
Okay.
Nope, no code book.
For a list,
My own paper.
But I will have your code book.
okay,
Excellent.
you can get with it.
That's all I got.
First, let me give you the runoff election results. Mickey Schneider, 126, and Jack Gentry, 55. So Ms. Schneider's a new council member. Okay, congratulations, Mr. Snyder. Oh, there you are. Okay. All right. The upcoming events, November the 30th through December the 2nd is the dance show at the auditorium. November the 30th is a Christmas parade. It'll be this Friday. December the 1st is tour of homes. December the 1st is living windows, downtown shops. December the 6th or 8th, which one is it? 6th? 6th. The 41st annual Silver Tea at the Crescent Hotel. December the 8th at Ozark Corral at the auditorium. December the 8th, 6th annual Sweet Treats Cookie Tour. December the 8th, 2nd Saturday Gallery Stroll. And December the 9th, Community Orchestra at the Carroll County at the auditorium. Motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Out of here.